A frame rate is really the frequency or the rate at which consecutive images or frames appear on the screen. Nowadays, everything is all about a higher frame rate. You've got 4K at 60 frames per second, 4K at 120 frames per second. Essentially, a higher frame rate means smoother motion, and a higher resolution means more detail within the image. While 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second is generally used for high action film or gaming, a lot of the way that we animate for cartoons or TV shows is done in 24 frames per second, not in 60 or 120. So for the most part, this is a standard frame rate, and it's been standard since really the beginning of film. When we were shooting film on celluloid, you'd have 24 little frames per 1 second of film strip. And it was decided upon 24 frames per second because that's what the eye can easily read to recognize motion. Now, the point that I want you to be really clear about is that not only is 24 frames per second a standard across the industry, but, and this is very important, 24 frames per second is the easiest frame rate to work in if you want to animate on twos. So animating on twos means that you'll only ever need to place a drawing on every second frame. And animating on ones means that you animate or you draw a picture or make a drawing on every single frame in between 0 and 24. So by making a drawing on every second frame, it works because even though there's just 12 drawings, we still read the motion exactly the same, and therefore, as animators, that gives us the opportunity to cut our workload in half. And that becomes crucial when you're working in the industry on a TV show and you're trying to put out an episode a week. To be able to cut your work time down by half is quite a big deal. Working in any other frame rate will really start to make animating on twos very complicated and a bit messy, and you'll wind up having to animate on ones for a lot of it. Later on, when you're using tweens and you're making complex character animation and you're comfortable with the principles, then I encourage you to experiment and try working in a different frame rate.